Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the International Business Association's first webinar in the Alumni series. Thank you for joining us. And as we get started, I'd like to go over a couple of housekeeping points. After the presentation, we're going to open the floor to any questions that you might have. When we invite you, your questions, you have the option of raising your hand and we'll unmute your mic. If you prefer not to speak, you can write it on the chat and we'll read the question for you. Also, I want to let you know that after the webinar at 1:30, we'll be sending in a survey to ask you how everything went and if your questions were answered. So we'd be really appreciated if you could fill in the survey. Okay. All right, so I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Idil and I am a board of director at International Business Association. I'm a third-year student at Humber College. And my interests are market research, and I'm specifically interested in behavioral sciences. So with us today, we have the rest of the International Business Association Board of Directors. The members are Olivia, Nikita, Kamaldeep, and Lionel. So let's introduce ourselves and get to know each other. You can take it away, Olivia.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Olivia, and I'm also the Board of Directors, International Business Association. I'm also in my third year of International Business Program. And for what I'm interested in business, I will say procurement and supply chain. Nice to meet you guys, and I hope you enjoy the event. Okay, I will give it away to Nikita.
Hello everyone, I am Nikita Mandala in my 5th semester, 3rd year, and it's great to meet you all. Thank you for taking time to come to this event. I hope you all have a great time in this event, and please do fill out the survey and let us know what you think of this event.
Hi everybody, this is Kamaldeep. Thank you for coming in and joining us for the event. We hope you'll like it. I'm in my 5th semester in the 3rd year of the international business, and I'm interested in the supply chain and the logistics. I got interested in it because of the Professor Nabil. He was really a great professor while teaching us the operations management, and that's how I got interested in the supply chain and logistics. Thank you again, and don't forget to fill out our survey so we can know what to improve for the next one. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, we're just gonna wait a couple of minutes until our guest is here. Thank you for sticking in with us. It'll just be a couple of minutes. Thank you.
That is fine. Thank you for the introductions. Hi. I don't know if I have seen everyone, but I was part of the IBA before. I'm glad to see you all there. It's nice to see how you are working everything out. I'm excited. I want to see what's going on.
Thank you. We're excited to have you here. I feel like we're really going to take it to another level, hopefully, and hopefully give it away to the, when we graduate, give it away to the other students who are already still studying at Humber.
For sure.
Okay, Max has entered.
Oh, okay. I'll just hide my camera.
Hi, Max. Can you hear us?
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you. All right, then we'll get right in. I'll just open the presentation here.
All right.
Okay, can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right, so let's get right in. So I'd like to introduce Max Beacock. He's a graduate from Humber College. He graduated in 2018 with an International Business Bachelor degree. He is the Supervisor, Strategic Planning and Performance Analyst at the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and works and lives in Toronto, Ontario. Max has an extremely impressive professional achievements, and his achievements in Humber College and engagement was very high, including being a VP of Chapter Development at DECA. So Max, we're really happy to have you here with us to help us students with the areas that we're all need some answers in, and we're struggling with some things that we need to find out. So how can we build connections? How can we keep those connections in the future? And how can we find co-op opportunities? So this is the reason we designed this webinar series, How to Jumpstart Our Future. So go ahead, take it away, Max.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, thank you for such a great introduction. I'm so happy to be here. And I just wanted to thank the International Business Association for first putting on this event. These are really important events for all undergrad students. And I remember coming to these events as a student and just being able to take so much away from some guest speakers. So I really hope that you all can take something away from what I'll be talking about today. I don't want to go on too long, and I really just want to make this about everyone on the call today. And you know, if you have questions, please feel free to jump in and ask me along the way. This really is more of just a discussion. And I do just want to give you a background on what I'm doing today, and we'll talk a little bit about my day-to-day, but more about what I did to kind of get here. So I had a great introduction, but there's a lot I think I can expand on and tell you about my journey and my 4 years at Humber. And then I'll talk about how you can benefit and some kind of my lessons learned and key takeaways that I think will be good for you guys. So when I was told about this theme of, you know, how to jumpstart your future, obviously there's no one cut answer that I can give you all. I wish there was a template that I could just send you, but I found this quote and I thought it was a great way to answer this question. To fail early, to fail often, but always just to fail forward. And you know, there's this opportunity to, you know, take stride in failing with everything that's going to come up. You're going to have failures along the way, but really just to move forward and with the concept is a great way to jumpstart your future. So I'll talk to you a little bit about where I am today on the next slide here. So I'm currently working for the RCMP as it was introduced. For those who aren't familiar with the RCMP, it's our federal police and law enforcement. And I'm working for National Division, which is really unique in the RCMP because we have a dual mandate, which means we do protective operations as well as sensitive and international investigations. And our unit and division are really focused around things that are going to impact Canada's integrity as a country, which means we have no geographic boundaries in anything that we're doing, unlike the RCMP, which is pretty fixed on domestic operations in Canada. We have no geographic restrictions in our investigations and protective operations. So National Division specifically does things like protecting the Prime Minister, embassies and consulates around Canada, as well as our investigation side is really on the international economic crimes or war crimes that it would involve Canadian residents or citizens. So it's a really interesting division to be involved in. And I had never thought of law enforcement or policing as a way to get involved in my business degree. But I'll tell you a little bit about my role and kind of what I'm doing, and hopefully it clicks. But again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. So my supervisor side is I'm just overseeing currently a junior analyst, and I'm recently just hired a co-op student as well to join our unit. And then there's the internal strategic consulting side. So similar to what you would do in your business strategy class or operations management class, we are given different client scenarios and problems that are being you know, ongoing with the different units across our division, and we're helping them solve these problems in a really kind of through a business lens approach. And then this kind of makes my journey in my day-to-day operations really vary and kind of what I'm working with. It could be any unit from HR to some unit that is involved in our protective operations side. And then my strategic planning aspect of my position itself is I'm working with my entire team to build a 3-year strategic plan, kind of like an entire plan for how the division needs to operate, as well as how it's going to evolve with policing and the different elements that are involved in policing in 2020. So that could be things like to incorporate digitalization and how policing needs to evolve with these things are incorporated into the strategic plan. So now I'll talk to you a little bit about what I did to really get here. And on the next slide, I tried to paint a picture of some 3 elements that I thought were core in my few years at Humber. And when I graduated high school, actually, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had taken a couple business classes I was interested in, but was still pretty lost in 2013 when I graduated. And then in 2015, I decided to come to the business school to, I thought about starting a business. I thought it was a good opportunity to join and get some hard and soft skills. So I came to the Humber Business School. And then right from day one, I decided to get involved as much as I could. I spent a lot of time doing on-campus work and like extracurriculars like DECA. Of course, I joined IBA as a IB student, but I also joined the finance club, despite not being a finance student. And I took the opportunity to take 3rd and 4th year classes. I thought it was a great chance to actually network with 3rd and 4th year students. I don't know if we have any 1st and 2nd year students on the call, but I would highly recommend you talk to your program coordinator and see if there's an opportunity for you to take upper year electives to be able to start networking with 3rd and 4th year students and really learn how they navigated their co-op and what maybe the 4th year students are doing as they go into graduation. It's a good opportunity to learn from the people who are already in this area. So the 3 kind of colors here are what I thought I needed to revolve most of my studies around, and that was networking, academics, of course, and then the off-campus aspect. So once I got to talking to these the 3rd and 4th year students, they really mentioned to me that networking and getting relevant job experience was important to find in a 3rd year co-op. So for me in 1st year, I only had retail and restaurant experience. So I knew it was going to be a bit of a hurdle to kind of go across these points. But I was really interested in finance at the time. So I decided to apply at all the big banks in Toronto and outside of Toronto as well. And I got rejected by all of them. So I went to a couple of networking meetings as well and tried to network with a couple of different people I met in the finance sector. I ultimately ended up going to a networking event and met some people from Investors Group. It's a wealth management and a financial advisory firm where I ended up doing my 1st year summer internship. And then a second networking event I went to, and it was really important. It kind of changed the course of my 4 years. It was a charity event in Toronto, and I ended up meeting a vice president of this multinational firm called Thales, as well as a recent graduate from Cornell University in the US. And then when it came to my 1st year co-op, my 1st year internship at Investors Group, I mean, it was really menial work. I was doing Excel. I was often getting coffee for people. I was making phone calls to random clients. So it wasn't engaging work, but I was always interested in learning. So that's something I would implore people to think about in this when you're doing your co-op, is always going outside to learn. In my spare time, whenever I could, I was reading investment portfolio books for some reason. And I decided to network within the firm as well. And then when I came into my 2nd year, I stayed connected with the Cornell grad who I mentioned. He ended up working at KPMG in Toronto, and we stayed close in contact. And he ended up pitching me this idea for a not-for-profit he wanted to build. It was a really interesting concept, and he wanted to have 2 parts to his not-for-profit. One was like digital mentorship for newcomers and immigrants to Canada. And the second component was an international development project in Colombia, where he wanted to bring backpacks to all these schools in this rural village of Colombia. And he told me his vision, and he asked if I was interested in joining just as an intern, again, to kind of help him with some of the administrative side of things. but it was going to be at the same time that we were back in the fall semester. But I decided to go along with it anyway. Thought it could be an interesting, thing to get involved in with this guy. And then I also came back to my second year and joined DECA, this time as a co-president. And it was a lot more work than I imagined. We had a really successful year in DECA, though. We grew the chapter by about 85%. We also had a chance to develop a relationship with the Toronto Wolfpack, who are a rugby team in Toronto. And we did some student consulting for them just in business development, but had a really good year as a DECA chapter. And we ended up going to internationals in California. So it was a really successful year. And concurrently, I ended up going down to Colombia to help with the logistics and on-the-ground support for building this not-for-profit. But when it came time to it, I didn't have an internship lined up in my second year. I applied to 20 or 30 different companies across Toronto. Again, was still really interested in the finance side, but didn't have any luck and tried to leverage my investors group experience. So I came out of it and just decided to start my own business. I brought this idea forward to start a beach shuttle in my hometown. And I brought it to the local economic development group and basically pitched my idea. And after spending months building this business plan, and I pitched this idea, and basically they said, "Oh, we think it's a great idea, but you should pivot towards wine tours. That's kind of where the majority of the money is nowadays, is in wine tours." And so basically they scrapped and voided my entire business plan that I'd spent months building. So that was my first and only, attempt at a startup that failed. But I knew I didn't want to put a lot of time into it because I was going to be studying abroad in Ireland. And that's meant to be the semester 5 here, the Irish flag. And I didn't put a lot of time into networking in Ireland because I spent most of my time in school and traveling and just trying to enjoy the experience abroad. But I did take the time to attend some recruiting events. I joined student clubs, and I also looked at applying to jobs internationally, but again, was consistently getting rejected by every firm I applied to. And then I ended up just sending a cold email to the vice president who I'd met at that networking event about 1.5 years earlier, for this firm named Thales. And I basically, this cold email, I just said, "Hi, I'm so interested in a co-op for next summer. I don't know what you guys have available, but would love to see what it looks like. And if not, let's grab a coffee sometime when I'm back from Ireland." And basically he just replied by CCing me in this email and attaching HR to the top, and just said, "See below, this kid's looking for an email or for a co-op." And HR came back to me and said, "Oh, sorry, we only do 12-month internships." And for me, I immediately responded to HR and said, I'm sorry, my school only offers 4 months. Is there a chance to, somehow find a way, cut down the 12 months into 4 months at all? And she said no. So I decided, some crazy thing in my brain decided somehow that I could do a 40-hour work week as well as a full-time course load, and joined the DECA board at the same time. And I will not try to convince you that I was able to balance this. It was absolute mayhem for 4.5 months. But I somehow managed to come out on top. My grades absolutely dropped. I don't think I went to a single class except for midterms and final exams. I don't even remember a couple of my professors' names that semester. But I also had fantastic support from all my professors. They knew what I was trying to accomplish by taking a full-time position in a co-op while taking full-time classes. But they offered me opportunities to make up grades for the in-class participation that's required, and they were really supportive through the entire process. When it came to the job specifically, though, at Thales, it was a really vague job title. It was, I think, project management intern, and there was no real job description, and it was kind of just an opportunity to make it my own. So what I started doing was getting involved in high-level projects that had really high visibility for senior management. And even if there was a project that I knew nothing about, it was the perfect opportunity to get involved and just start learning. I did end up, having to go into the office on Saturday because I would work my 40-hour weeks and I would just be so lost on what there is to do in a project that I would just have to like restart and learn as much as possible. So I would be in the office on Saturday, or even when I had a really, menial task given to me, like stapling papers, for example, I would take time and read what the paper, what's on the paper. I would learn the processes and ways of working of this company through just like immersing myself in as much as possible with the work that was going on. Again, just taking time to realize, that you don't know everything. And for me, it was like my first chance to be in a corporate setting like that, in this multinational firm. So it was an amazing experience to have. And despite the 12-month work term, I ended my my first semester in fourth year with no job offer. So it was kind of to say the least, it sucked. But there was not much else I could do. I tried to network within the firm. Again, like getting involved on high visibility projects, there's only so much you can do. And I had no job offer by the end of it. So I decided to take this experience and start applying other ways to other companies. And my network that I developed in Toronto was great. And I had some experience and it got me in the door at other places, at least for an interview. But it wasn't the only thing that mattered. I interviewed at like American Express, Bombardier, and Canon. And even with Bombardier, I had a coffee with a project manager. And it was just like, we had such a good connection for being at that interview level, but I had no job offers. And I wasn't even getting a response back from the other places. So after exams in my fourth year, I just left. I traveled to Asia, I backpacked, I cleared my head, and I just wanted to reset. And I came back to graduation at the end of fourth year, and I walked across the stage and I was nominated and I won the President's Medal, and it was such a humbling experience to be on that stage. But really realizing as well that I didn't have a job offer. I almost wasn't successful in my degree, thinking to that in myself, like, what was next? But I kept pushing forward. And the summer after graduation, I decided to apply to 100 different positions. I just spent a few full-time days applying to jobs and filling out different resumes and trying every trick in the book. I applied to the RCMP, where I am now, and I was able to get a couple of small interviews as well. And one of our professors on campus also connected me with one of his former colleagues to get in the door for an interview at this top consulting firm that did executive searches. And it was a really interesting experience because I had this idea of what interviewing looked like. I'd done a couple interviews before with Investors Group and Thales, but this was a whole other experience. And I had 6 rounds of interviews actually. And I was interviewing with everyone from the analyst I would be working with to the senior partners, and then all the way up to the managing director. And it was kind of like, for me, thinking about how intense each of these interviews were. They would give me like a verbal case study. They would ask me behavioral questions. So it was just like a really broad but intense interview process. And it was about 12 weeks that it lasted. So going through this the whole time, I was thinking how intense it was. But again, getting to the 6th interview and still not having a job offer. And I was able to interview with Bell because I knew someone in the firm, and I got into a 3rd round interview, and they gave me a case study and a laptop and like a whole Excel thing to set up. And I completely failed that portion of the interview. So I didn't get the job. But I ended up at a boutique consulting firm in Montreal, and they put me through about 5 rounds of interviews. And again, this was such a different experience that I'd gone through with, understanding what the typical interview process looked like. I was doing a couple of case studies, and I'd met the client who I'd be working with, which was Airbus. And they put me through a couple of different behavioral interviews to see if I was a good fit for the company and for the client. And so it wasn't until maybe mid-September of that year that I graduated, you know, finishing exams in April and landing a job in September is kind of when I got the job offer. But then I moved to Montreal about a week and a half later. And I left Toronto just flying to Montreal with a carry-on bag, and that was everything I brought. Everything else was put into storage in Montreal. So that's where I kept up the process, despite, you know, landing this new job in Montreal. I kept up the process for recruiting with the RCMP and continued the onboarding and going through the tests and the case study that the RCMP gave me, which brought me to accepting the job offer here in February. So I was only with the firm in Montreal for about 6 months, but it took me some time to realize that it wasn't the right culture for me, and I wasn't getting enough challenge. But that brings me to where I am today. So the next slide, I want to talk about how you can benefit. So I just have some key takeaways that I think can really help you guys. And the first one on the next slide here is networking. So I talked a lot about networking, but I really think this is key because, you know, you can just take time to build and leverage any contacts that you've made over your degree. It could be professors, which I think is such a great opportunity in the business school because you're so close with your professors. Each one of them knows your name, and you can really establish that connection with them. But for external networking, you know, get yourself involved in networking events and virtual coffee chats. Put yourself in that uncomfortable situation. For me, it was talking to an Ivy League grad and a vice president of a multinational firm at this charity event. It was completely intimidating. It was uncomfortable, but it was an invaluable opportunity. And I developed that network with them. And as you can see, it really shifted the opportunities that I had over the last 4 years. And to this day, like I still keep in touch with them. And when I did meet them, it was, you know, it was such a good chance to ask them what they did and how they approached their career in certain situations. Really understand the ins and outs of their career journey, and, you know, and their level of obsessiveness and what they were doing. The second part is continuous learning. So kind of as I mentioned in my 2 internships, I was always taking time to learn. Despite what you're given in your internship or your job description, go outside of it and get yourself involved in everything and be ready to never stop learning. And as a job candidate, like when you're in an interview, this is a really good story to tell. You know, make it clear that you're ready to never stop learning. And for me as a student, you know, I knew I was smart, but I wasn't an A+ student. So I knew there was areas I had to show my other strengths for the job market. And when it came to something I failed at, like a job application, I really took time to ask myself why. You know, I was rational, and I tried to figure out what the why was on why I didn't get the job, or even why I failed the exam. And I would kind of make a study plan for that and figure out a learning plan for that to become better and try and get it next time. And then my last point on continuous learning is, you know, if business is really your passion, or whatever your passion is, immerse yourself in it. International business specifically, like it's such a good opportunity to be in an international business right now with the way the world and economy is evolving. But, you know, you can just take the time to immerse yourself in the business world. It could be through podcasts or even a Netflix show. But find something that you want to learn and really lean into it. And then the third one is the no fixed destination. So I think this is an important topic, specifically as a Humber College graduate, that, you know, challenge the orthodoxy that exists in a lot of people's minds about college graduates. I think there is also no one size fits all job description for a business graduate. So don't think that you need to do, you know, an accounting job or a consulting job. Like, you can do absolutely anything with a business degree. It's just follow your passion and things like that. And that leads me to thinking about, you know, don't read into job titles. With Talus, for me, and the firm name itself, I'd never heard of the firm, and the job title was so vague, but I thought it was such a good opportunity to just try something and, you know, take a leap forward. And that also leads me to think about the interview process. So I mentioned how intense the interview process was at the end. And for me, that was such a new situation from the status quo interview process that I'd known before, and that we did in the careers class. So, you know, take time to study the industry that you're going to be applying to, and figure out what their interview process looks like. It might be, you know, if you are applying to retail and restaurants, that you'll only have one interview and you can expect that. But if you're applying to a certain industry that is known for having a really rigorous interview process, take time and learn that, and really try and figure out what that status quo looks like for that industry. And then my last point is, with the COVID market, I mean, I can't speak necessarily to finding a job during a pandemic, but there's a couple of points that I think are really important in just finding any job. One is the apprenticeship side. So the apprenticeship side, I mean, you know, finding something that you can make a tangible impact in the company, or a meaningful impact, but within the job description that has something where you can really have tangible goals within the job. For me at Talus, it was getting involved. I had to make my own tangible goals, and ways that I want to make an impact. But you know, there's an opportunity there when you're searching for jobs with the apprenticeship side, as well as the learning and development. So looking for jobs that really promote the opportunity for learning and development as a student, which means, you know, taking time for professional courses, or they'll send you to other areas of the firm to learn in, and really just expose you to everything. So just prioritizing that as a learning opportunity. And my last point is to not have a losing mindset. You know, for me, if you had have asked, when did you get your job offer? People might assume that I was in the pandemic, because I had to wait almost 6 months for a job offer. You know, I checked all the boxes during my degree, and I crossed the stage with still no job offer. And that was in the best economy that our country's ever seen. So I would say, you know, be willing to understand that your 4 years does not look like a straight path, and there's not necessarily just boxes you can check. You'll likely fail at something, and it might even be a job offer or an exam. But how you approach that failure is really going to have a bigger impact on your overall journey. And so my question to you is, are you failing forward? Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Max, for the great tips. I think that one thing that we can all agree on is that there's no clear-cut answer to how to find your co-op or how to figure out what you're interested in, specifically the job title point that you've made, because we also focus on the fact that we need a specific job title. We need to, you know, find out if we like digital marketing or research. So like you said, our degree really goes forward to a whole spectrum of jobs. So it's our job to like kind of find out what we're interested in. So I think that's really insightful for us students to hear from you. So yeah, now we can move on to the Q&A section. If you guys like, we can take questions from you. You can unmute your mics or raise a hand. I can unmute your mic for you, or you can write to the chat box. All right.
I do see a couple here in the chat box.
Yeah.
Am I able to open them?
Let's see.
Hi, Max. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes.
Hi, I really like your painting, first of all. It's really nice.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, like, we hear a lot of people say, like, build your connections, right? So say you like someone on the LinkedIn, right? You texted them, but how you move it forward and how do you grow that connection?
That's a great question. I mean, honestly, there is only a certain point where you can try and connect with someone. I've had so many times where I'll reach out to somebody and send them 2 or 3 messages over LinkedIn and they won't reply. I think that there is a point where there's kind of a dead end. But you know, taking time to look around their circle as well. If you're looking to grow your network, it doesn't necessarily need to be that one specific person. You know, find people that they're working with, and if they won't connect with you, maybe look for their boss or maybe their analysts underneath them. So you can kind of look at the whole, I don't want to say value chain, but the whole kind of team that they're working with within that group. And I hope that answers your question.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. So we have a question from Darian. When exactly did you start your job search? He's currently in semester 5.
Okay, and thank you for your question. I assume you're talking about the co-op specifically, or I guess the work term, summer work term specifically. Maybe it sounds a little cliche, but I started looking right from day one. I knew kind of what I wanted to, or I didn't know what I wanted to do in my first semester. And so I was applying to everything, keeping in mind what my 3rd year semester and 3rd year co-op was going to look like. But when it came to being in 3rd year, I started really looking in September of my 3rd year. I think there's a peak recruitment period between September and November where it's a really prime time to start interviewing for summer co-ops. And unfortunately, it's a really limited scope for, you know, you're competing with all these other universities and colleges. So the earlier, the better. And I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. I have a question too. Oh, okay, we have a question from Isa Muhammad Ali. Perhaps finding a topic that the person seems passionate about and using that as the angle of entry, and hopefully that can create a good starting. I think he's suggesting.
Oops, sorry, I think I lost you for the connection there. What was the question?
Oh, okay. So he's saying perhaps finding a topic that the person's passionate about and using that as an angle of entry, maybe that can create a good start to a job search.
Yeah, I completely agree. For me though, it really ended up being nothing I considered. Even now, like I said with the RCMP, it was just I pulled up a job application and applied and didn't think anything of it. And I think yes, passion is absolutely key, but again, it might get to a point where you can just apply to everything and then you make it your own experience as well. But passion and, you know, ensuring that your values are aligned with that organization as well are really, really important.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I agree.
I also have a question that how different is it for you to work in a government organization, RCMP, versus your previous private organizations?
It's a good question. It's definitely, it's very different in that we have very different goals. You know, when I was working in the private sector, everything that we did as in consulting for Airbus was to save money. Like my day one of Airbus being our client, they said, we're trying to cut costs by 20% across everything. And that was the general goal with anything that you did or tried to change. Whereas the RCMP specifically is public safety. So anything you do, you know, optimization or I did a statistical analysis for this unit, they're trying to figure out, okay, well, how does that help us save people faster? Or how does that, you know, how do we maximize our resources? Mm-hmm. So it's a very different tangible outcome that the RCMP looks for. And I think that the public sector specifically is very process oriented. versus the private sector being very profit centric.
Great, thank you.
No worries.
Okay. So if you guys want, while you're writing your questions down, I can just read another question we have here for you, Max. So students might have plans like, I want to start my own business one day. So in order to achieve this task, they have smaller tasks along the way. How would this apply to their professional goals? How would they find out what those small other things that they need to be doing? Would they be reaching out other people about this, or should they be doing their own research about it? What would you recommend?
I would say a little bit of both. I do think, going along the way, like of course the co-op is mandatory, so it gives you a good chance to, if everything else goes astray, you have a network, and you did a co-op at a place where people are going to know you, and you're going to learn something, and you're going to build that relationship with a certain amount of people. Tying it into owning your own business, you're going to have consumers no matter what you're trying to run. Even as if you decide to run a not-for-profit, the consumers are your donors, for example. So building like any opportunity that you take is going to involve other people. And so I think that's the most important outcome, is just establishing good relationships.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It's really important for us right now. Like I'm in my 5th semester. It's kind of getting close. We got to start right away. You have to build your LinkedIn profile. You need to talk to people, even if they're messaging you about let's say sometimes they message you about pyramid schemes, right? Even for them, I try to answer them, no, thank you, or, other stuff, I don't just leave them unanswered. Just try to connect with them in some way if it's possible. Okay. Another thing I would like to talk to you about is your retail experience. I definitely relate to that myself, because that's what we do during college, right? We try to earn money and, even build connections in the restaurant force. We still do it. And the fact that you were rejected so many times, I think we can all relate to at this point. But hopefully we're gonna, find the things that we need to take your advices and tips that you've provided us. These have been really helpful. So I'd really like to ask others if they have other questions. Go ahead and raise your hand or unmute your mic. We have another question if you guys don't want to ask right away.
I have a question that for the RCMP in regards to that, when do they start their co-op terms?
So we currently do it by semester as well as in the summer. It will depend on the unit that you join. My unit, for example, does 4-month co-op terms, mostly summer and fall, but we do have an opening for the winter as well.
Okay, so say if we want to apply for the summer, so we'll have to do it in January, or we do it now?
Kind of as soon as possible. With my position at the RCMP, the recruiting process started in July, and I started in the new year. Just in general, as a heads up, public sector often takes a little bit longer than the private sector. So if you are applying to public sector jobs, expect a bit of a longer timeline. But with the RCMP specifically, send me your resumes. Everyone who's interested, I'll make sure they get to our staffing unit for summer for co-op positions.
Thank you. We'll sure do you.
I'll make sure to share the necessary stuff with you guys too in a minute from the slides. And so I just have one other question for you. What is your future plans, Max? What does the future look like for you?
That's a good question. Honestly, I haven't thought too much about it. I'm really just trying to keep in the present moment, staying super busy with my current job. But I definitely want to advance my education in some way, whether it's a professional designation or doing a master's, I think would be giving me a leg up in the job market. But I think in the near future, I'm going to continue in the public sector. I'm really liking it here.
Thank you. Thanks for your answers. All right, I'll just go back to the slides. We have an important slide here that I'd like to share with you. Okay, so if you want to connect with Max, his email is right here. We also have some valuable information also. If you'd like to know more about the RCMP, you can connect us and we can provide you with some helpful PDFs. But yeah, if you'd like to talk to Max, if you'd like to send your resumes in, Max, thank you for providing these informations for us. Really, it's really helpful to hear that we're appreciated at some point.
Yeah, really. And we wish you luck in finding what you love.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the opportunity to come in and talk to you guys today. Please, everyone on the call, feel free to send me your resume, and I'm open to also add me on LinkedIn and we can set up a time for a virtual coffee chat. I know this is a really tough time with everyone having to be virtual. So I'm happy to talk to anyone further. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Humber Alumni is the way to go. So happy to connect with everyone.
I just, sorry, I'm too late. I just have a comment to add. I'm glad that, for example, Max, right? He tried so many different things. And I think that's something very important for you guys now that you are going to apply for internships. Don't be just focused on one thing. There's so many fields out there that you can actually get experience. Maybe it's not what you want right away, but remember, this is just an internship. It's just for you to try. Maybe you will like it, maybe you won't, but at least you will have the experience. That's something that happened to me personally when I was applying for my internship. I was too focused on finance and marketing, and I was trying just to get that specific job. Right. Then I saw a posting for operations. I remember it was for importing and exporting, something like that. And I was like, okay, let's just try. I'm tired of applying for hundreds and hundreds of postings and I'm not getting calls or anything. So I just applied to that one. And surprisingly, I ended up getting that one in operations. So for me, it was shocking and surprising. And I was happy too, because I was already on May and I was supposed to already have an internship. So I started there, and trust me, it was such a good experience. I didn't imagine that I would like that field specifically, even more than marketing, even more than finance. So you learn a lot on the way, not only about the jobs that are there for you, but also about yourself. What are you able to do? You end up developing your skills so much more. And please keep that in mind. Now with COVID-19, I'm a graduate now from COVID-19. Yeah, I just graduated. And as Max said, you end up graduating sometimes without a job. Right. And that doesn't make you be less than the others. No, it's normal, completely normal. It happens to everyone. And don't be afraid if it's the end of the year, you still don't have a job. Sometimes it's the timing, sometimes it's, I don't know, the environment, who knows? But you just keep trying. I'm looking forward for it. I will just share with you because I've been in touch with Olivia. I've been applying for jobs, trying to, get something, especially now with the pandemic. It's crazy. It's just crazy. And I ended up getting a job, so I'll start next week.
Oh, great. Congratulations.
And basically where I did my internship, Kunanago. They offered me a job, and thank God I will start soon. But as I said,
congratulations.
Thank you. But again, don't be afraid. My brother, he did his internship basically this summer when everything was happening. It's not easy. Maybe you won't find something that is 4-month term like Max. It was a 12-month contract. But at least, again, be open of any opportunity that comes on the way. Professors will be very supportive. They will help you as long as you show your interest, as long as you keep in touch with them, because that's another important factor. You're a student in their class, but if you don't participate in their class, if you don't show as much interest in their class, or at least you don't approach them, it will be very difficult for them to be flexible with you. But if you participate, if you put effort, if you actually, raise your hand at least to ask a question or something, they will notice you and they will see the potential that you have. So of course they will be willing to help you. So never be afraid to approach your professors, because as anyone else in the class, they are there to help you.
Definitely. No, I totally agree with that.
Totally.
It all comes back to what Max said, I think. There is no clear-cut answer. We need to find our own ways, keep trying, and stay motivated throughout the road. Because if you just, like he said, he spent a couple of days just full-time applying and creating this and that, it's going to be like that. That's how it looks like the process is going to be like. But it's up to us to find what we like and what we want to do and just keep on trying.
Exactly.
So
That's great. Congratulations, Erica, on the job.
Thank you, Max. No, just saying, guys, don't be scared if you get applying and no calls and anything. It's normal. Sometimes it depends. Again, it depends. Some people get it right away. Some people get it 2 months after. Like, it doesn't matter when you get it, but as long as you keep trying, that's what makes the difference.
all right.
Thank you, Fernando. But
so if anyone else doesn't have questions
or even comments, guys,
or comments,
I think the thing that I really connected to in this event is the continuous learning part. Like, I feel like so many times we're just doing things that we don't like take a look back and we're like, where did I go wrong? So that was really good to hear about. Thank you.
oh,
Of course, yeah.
so Max, do you have anything else to mention?
No, I think honestly, I just wanted to be there for everyone to ask questions or tell me your stories. I mean, this is an event for you guys. So, you know, I'm open to, you guys need to reach out to me. Just wanted to say anytime. And I hope I wish you all the best luck with finding co-op in the summer, or if you're at graduation or have graduated, good luck in the job market. And thank you so much again for the opportunity to come and speak to you guys. I'm so honored and humbled to be speaking as an alumnus. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being so open and sharing all your insights and experiences with us. We know
Thank you.
how much we've learned, and
thank you.
sorry, so much that we can learn from you. So we'll work on those things, and thanks for all your energy too. It was great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. All right, so this slide shows that Max's full name. You can follow him on LinkedIn, and then our information down there. You can follow us on Instagram, connect us with on LinkedIn, and follow us on Facebook. The next one. And yes, so we can send you the link to our subscription mailing box. In this way, you can learn about the upcoming webinars and all sorts of events that we'll have in the future. So yeah, I'll just send in the link to your mails and the survey. Thank you for joining. And have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
You too.
You all.
Thank you.